Good afternoon. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Catherine McDermott. I'm co-owner here at Town Square. You can't hear me.
If
Know
you
it?
can't hear, you need to move further up. Okay? You can't sit in the back and tell us you can't hear. Just move right up here. Come sit right up here by me. Come on, come sit by me. I will not bother anybody on the front row, but that row back there, I'm going to pick on them the whole time. Come on up here.
No.
No.
And once it gets quieter, you'll be fine.
And anybody who's not quiet, she'll smack them. Okay? Y'all come right on up here, and I will try. Anybody else who's got hearing issues?
All right, let me try that again, and I'm going to speak louder. Okay? All right. Can everybody hear me now? Okay. I'm Catherine McDermott. I'm a co-owner here at Town Square with my husband, John, and we want to welcome you all today to Town Square. We're delighted to have Dr. Cummings here to go over a very important part of what we do here, which is socialization. And so I'm going to leave you to Dr. Tam Cummings, gerontologist and expert in dementia.
Yay! Yay! I'm here! Yay! Yay! I came all the way from Texas to be here. Thank y'all for the rain. We hadn't had that in a while in Texas. Catherine and John had to point out to me, it is when water falls from the sky. That's what rain is. Sorry, y'all don't have it out there, but we don't. But man, y'all are getting it, aren't you? How many of you had to actually paddle over here? Raise your hands. I've seen puddles bigger than we've got tanks in Texas. Y'all are getting a lot of rain. I'm Dr. Cummings. I'm a gerontologist. I specialize in dementia, and I like to start with a friendly Texas greeting. So howdy.
Howdy.
Y'all, that was really good. A lot of times it can sound like you're in Cincinnati or New Jersey. That was excellent. I give you high scores already. Okay? Now, how many of you here are family caregivers of a person with dementia? God bless you all. God bless you all. Your journey that you're on is very difficult. But we have things in place to help you as you go through this with your loved ones. Did everybody get a book?
No.
You're welcome for the book. Who didn't get a book? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have one? Okay. All right. About 5 or 6 books. Okay. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to help you understand the other things that are around that we do to help people with dementia. So the critical thing is that people have to have socialization. You have to have it. Do you remember years ago there were all those orphaned children in Bulgaria and they never got touched and they didn't grow up right because they didn't have touch and socialization? We know that during the pandemic, when we were not able in memory care communities to touch the people with dementia, that we saw a more rapid decline in their disease because they weren't getting human touch. So human touch and socialization are critical not only to your loved one, they're critical to your aging and to my aging. And we have got to have that to age well. Even if you're an introverted person. He needs a book down here. These ladies need a book. That lady needs a book. Did you need one, Miss Carol? Okay. Yeah, Catherine didn't even tell you to bring the books. I swear. Right behind you. There you go. Okay. All right. So a couple more books. Okay. So you've got to have socialization, and that is not only for your loved one, but it is critical for you. And throughout this journey, you've got to prepare yourself of what if something happens to me? Who will step forward? Okay. So you have to think about really, really hard and difficult things. That makes sense? Okay. Now, before I can talk about anything, because I'm a gerontologist, I specialize in dementia, I got to talk about dementia first. So you and I have 100 billion neurons in our brains. And during the course of our lifetime, our brain has pruned itself 4 to 5 times to get rid of neurons that aren't healthy, connections that aren't great. It just sort of cleans things up when you're 4 or 5. It did that. That's why you don't remember learning how to walk. Anybody do something foolish when you're 15 or 16? That was a pruning that was going on. Anybody do something they regret in their early 20s? Some of you are going, yeah, kind of, yeah. The brain was pruning itself again. And then the last time it prunes itself is about age 32. Okay? But it prunes out the things that haven't connected well. And do you remember when we were in school and they had us draw a cell, and it was a cell and it had a little round thing in it, and we called it the nucleus, and we were so proud, and our science teachers gave us an A? The neurons in your brain have thousands of things inside that neuron. It's not a simple structure at all. We don't even understand the full working of it. To give you an idea of what these things look like, if I wanted a neuron blown up so that it would be the size of a dime in my hand, that's the equivalency of making a strand of my hair 35 feet wide. That's about from that side of this room to that side of this room. So you're talking about microscopic changes that are happening in your loved one's brain. And because of how the brain is set up and how it's structured, that's why they lose one thing and you think it's gone forever, and suddenly it pops out in another place where they're suddenly able to remember something that you haven't seen them able to recall for a while. You with me? Okay. Now, these are the dendrites, the roots of the neuron. Every time you learn something new, the hippocampus in your brain sits up and it says, that's information we need. Okay? My daughter called. She said, she's pregnant. There's going to be triplets. They're going to be born on Christmas Day, and she's going to name them Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Okay? Your hippocampus would sit up. It would say, that's information we need. It would gather an electrical current and chemicals. And then in a way we don't understand, it would build a pathway to the lobe of your brain that holds that particular type of information. It would fire, and these dendrites would get bigger. Okay? You with me so far? Okay, now I ran this by a couple of medical friends, and they said, nobody will understand that, do something different. And I said, what if we talked about a dendrite being a bead added to a necklace? Every time you learn something new, your dendrite's got another bead. Does that make sense? Now, how many of you can remember how smart you were when you were 20? You knew everything, right? And you looked at your parents one day and you went, God bless them. They are dumber than a box of rocks. How have they made it this far in life without help? When you turned 30, you suddenly realized your parents had gotten a lot smarter in the last 10 years. You were sort of proud of them. How big do you think the dendrite growth is on a 20-year-old person's brain cells? It's about this much. And you thought you knew everything. Is there anybody in here in their 70s who's willing to admit it in public? Yes, I know. Your dendritic growth's like this. Somebody in their 90s, their dendrites are like this. You have a longer, thicker dendrite. You have more experiences, more things you've done in your lifetime. How many of you are parents? Mothers? I've never had a baby. I have none of that dendritic growth that y'all have. I also have dendritic, I don't have dendritic growth waiting for the sheriff to call. I don't have that. I don't have dendritic growth at the gasp I took when USAA told me what it was going to cost to insure a teenager driver. I never had to sit up and wait for somebody to show up at midnight and go make sure my car's not been wrecked. Okay? So there's a lot of growth in you as a parent in your brain I don't have. How many of you have been to war, been in the military? Thank you for your service, both of you. Anybody over here? Thank you for your service. The rest of you? Thank you, sir. And all the rest of us? Thank you, sir. Slackers. We're just slackers. But you have experiences that I don't have. And if you'll watch, military people only talk about their military experience to other military people because he understands what you understand, what she understands. And nobody ever yelled at me and told me to drop and give them 50. Okay? So based on your life, based on your education, based on the things you've done, your beads, your dendrites are very rich and thick. Okay? And as you learn more stuff, you just get another bead added into the dendrite. You get more on that root system. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Now, when the disease process starts, as each bead is corrupted or lost, so is the memory that bead held. And dementia start and begin to kill the neurons in an outward fashion. They begin to destroy the last thing learned is the first thing out, because that's the first part of the dendrite to die. And the neurons themselves don't die in a few seconds. Some of them we now think may take a few decades to die. The disease process is slow, and you have 100 billion brain cells to start. Okay? And the more experience you have, the more you've traveled, whatever you've done with your life, the number of children you've had, that you've had children at all, gives you more growth. Does that make sense to everybody? So the older brain is actually a very thick and rich brain, and it has memories that other people don't have. People who are in their 90s know how to process food and put it into cans for vegetables. That didn't make sense. They know how to can vegetables in the jars. Thank you very much. Okay. So as each bead is lost, that memory is corrupted until finally that neuron dies. And then when 100 million of those neurons die, that whole memory is gone. Does that make sense to you? Now, you don't simply have memory about something on one neuron. How many of you have a mother? That's a test question, and some of you didn't raise your hands. We would like to know what planet you're from. I knew I was going to meet them one day. Okay? How many of you are a mother? How many of you gentlemen made a woman a mother? How many of you have grandmothers? Aunts who are mothers? Daughters who are mothers? Sisters who are mothers? Mother's also a curse word. You're not allowed to use it. Samuel L. Jackson owns that word, and if you use it, you have to send that man $1. He's already filthy rich. Don't use that word. Mother can be a sexual term. She's a hot mama. Ooh, baby. And ladies, if you'll think, on your first day of school, you met a girl in the playground, and you looked at her and you thought to yourself, bet she grows up to be a hoochie mama. If you're Catholic, how many more beads do you have for the Virgin Mary, the Mother Mary? Right? So based on your religion, there's a whole other set of mothers there. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. And then as you think about your life, how many holidays have you been on? How many trips? How many vacations? How many of you can drive 3 on the tree and 4 on the floor? If I need to tell you that involves a clutch, you can actually dry it. Can everybody turn their phone off before my sister calls, because she will call. And we know that because she does it every time. Okay? So how many people have you met in your lifetime? And how many of you have noticed you don't remember names? Does that worry you? The reality is, once you reach sort of the age of 50 or 60, your hippocampus in your brain goes, another John? I've already met all the Johns I need to know. He's not marrying anybody in the family. I don't need to know it. It tosses it out. How many of you know my name? Right. It's okay. Don't worry about me. I've got medication. I'll be okay. You were taught, you were sent my name on the invitation. It's on your book. It's probably on every slide. They introduced me. But your brain looked at me and said, never going to need to see her again. How many of you have walked in a room and don't remember what you went in there for? Was your first thought, oh crap, I've got it too? It's actually stress. How many of you are stressed? All of us, right? How many of you have lost your keys? Did you know what they went to when you found them? How many of us have lost our phones? But did we grow up carrying a phone in our pocket? No. Where was the phone we had? What wall was it on in the house? Were you allowed to use it? No. Boys could use it if they were calling to make a date. Girls could use it to talk to the boy calling to make a date. Were you allowed to chat on it for hours? No. Did it have a cord on it long enough to rope cattle? Okay, that's the phone we grew up with. Is it any wonder we lose our phones? And then if you go get a new phone, you have to go find a 2-year-old to explain to you how to make the phone work. And then this whole week, did you know iPhones are updating? So just when you think you've learned how the stupid thing works, we got to go find that 2-year-old again and say, they updated my phone last night. Can you help me with this? Okay? So think then about all the stuff you do without thinking. As you got in the car to drive here today, did you think, okay, let me put my foot on the brake. Okay, I got to put on my blinker. And by the way, we need to talk about y'all's lack of use of blinkers in this city. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's on the left side. Press it up or down. Let us know what you're doing. Okay? You got dressed today. Did you have to think about it, or did you just get dressed? You showered. You had to think about it. Well, you were matching clothes, trying to look good. You were looking good. Okay? But it's things that you and I can do without thinking. Your loved one can't anymore. And the odd thing about dementias is nobody with dementia looks sick until they lose an entire pound of their brain. Okay? Everybody with me? That's hard stuff to hear, isn't it? Okay. Now, as the dendrites die, and they continue to die because this is a terminal disease. All dementias are terminal diseases. And so family members get confused or forgotten. It's not because she didn't love you. It's because the dendrites that held your information, those beads are gone now. And so she doesn't know who you are anymore. Memories, entire memories are eventually taken away. The losses are progressive and predictable because the type of dementia you have is determined by where it started in the brain and where it's moving to. And because we know where they all start and where they move to, that's how we're able to build tools to help you stage your loved one. They're predictable and progressive in the manner in which they move. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, I ask if it makes sense to everybody because there's a test at the end, and it's all essay. No true, false, no multiple guess, all essay. Isn't it amazing? It doesn't matter how old you get. The minute I said the word test, and this man served in the military, 9 different sphincters in our body went. And you begin to think, I'm a grown person. They can't make me take a test. They've already locked the doors. You can't even get out of here without their help. Okay? So, as people, even people with dementia, we need purpose. And that's why as you look around town square, there's purpose in every room. There's something different happening. When I was in graduate school, I had to do a research study, and I went to a skilled facility, and I gave every person there a bud vase with 1 stick of ivy in it, and their job was to take care of the ivy. Even the people with dementia, because we were recording whether or not the people with dementia noticed it and continued to take care of the ivy if they were reminded. And they did. All humans need purpose. And because your loved one has dementia, your need for purpose is even higher because of the stress you're under, and your need for socialization is higher because of the stress you're under. Frequently, when families are caregivers, you get ghosted by people. Y'all notice your friends quit calling? You get quit getting invited to go golf or play tennis, to go to the beach, to come over for dinner. Your support groups are what will save you. Having the socialization of a town square is what will save you and get you through this disease, because 3 out of 10 of you, we expect to die first, strictly from the stress of the care that you do. And even though they continue to build memory care buildings right and left, how many of us have that kind of money? It's expensive. Town square gives you a stopgap between that time to where you can get your feet underneath you. Your loved one does activities all day long, they socialize all day long, and you're able to get done what you want to do, or better yet, you're able to take a nap and not worry. How many of you really just want to take a nap? That's the most common thing a caregiver wants. Okay? Everybody with me? Now, some of these cells take decades or years to die. And when they finally begin to die, the person begins to exhibit memory loss. Okay? And when enough of them have died, the person can't make new memory because the piece of the brain that does that no longer exists. It doesn't matter how many times I tell my mother she's got a new great grandchild and its name is Betty. She cannot remember that, or that there's a new grandchild, because the piece of the brain that would do that doesn't exist. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Y'all are going to do so well on the test. Catherine, I'm so excited. Now, how many of you have seen the phrase normal atrophying brain? What's that sound like's happening? It's dying. Sounds like it's dying, right? Why didn't they do an MRI of your entire body so that they could tell you you have normal atrophying skeletal structure and that you have normal atrophying kidneys, normal atrophying skin, normal atrophying lung capacity? All it means is that it's aging. That's all. And the older brain is thicker and richer, and even with aging, it still knows more than a 20-year-old brain. This morning we had a group of nursing students in here, and I think they were all about 20. Pretty sure I hurt their feelings before they left here. Yeah. Okay. So where families get confused is they go to the government's website for the signs of early memory loss. The problem is these are all signs of middle to late memory loss. This is not what you saw first. Now, this may have been what one of your kids that doesn't visit very often saw, or it may have been somebody who doesn't come around very often saw. But memory loss is a stage 5 thing, not stage 2. And poor judgment leading to bad decisions, well, that could have been you when you were 16, 17, or 18, 20, 21, 22. The brain was pruning. It wasn't really your fault. But that's stages 4 to 6. That's moderate to severe dementia, not early. Loss of spontaneity and sense of initiative is moderate to severe dementia, not early. Taking longer to complete daily tasks. Have you wanted to just pull their head off because they're not getting it done fast enough? It's brain damage. It's not being done on purpose. They're not getting all the steps that are required to do that task. Trouble handling money and paying bills. You better be in charge of your assets. Okay, I don't care whose feelings you hurt. Get rid of that computer, change those passwords, get control of your money, or somebody with dementia will give it all away. Okay, wandering and getting lost, repeating questions, losing things and putting them in odd places. Okay, how many of you have stuck something somewhere and you came back later and found it and thought, what in the world was I thinking? That was just stress. Okay, so don't worry about that. A lot of the things that y'all are seeing is stress. Not actually in you, not in your loved one. Okay, mood and personality changes usually begin in stage 5, and increased anxiety, aggression, depression slowly builds because on some level your loved one can tell there's something wrong with their thinking. And if you continue to follow them around every day, trying to be helpful, pointing out what they're doing wrong, has that helped anybody? Or did that just get you in trouble? So there's a unique human thing where anywhere in the world, if I walked up to any human being and said, there's something wrong with your brain, they would be ready to fight me. So every time you point out to your loved one there's something wrong with their brain, did it help or did it just make them mad? I could make any one of you mad right now if I insisted I see something wrong with you. You would get mad too. If they want the sugar and you know they meant salt, pass them the salt. These are not teaching moments. This is not a little kid with a growing brain. These are people with dying brains. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, can y'all hear me? I'm trying to really enunciate today. Okay. Now, we think what you really first saw was a very subtle change in executive function. An executive function is your ability to plan and carry out a task. You want to have a dinner party. You got to invite people, get the food, clean the house, set the table, make the food, all those things you have to do. You notice that they were beginning to skip little, tiny, subtle slips. But then they would correct themselves. But this is probably what you saw first, is that they begin to have trouble with executive function. And because the brain is so powerful, because all of the body systems work at such a high level, other people don't see it, even physicians, because they don't live with the person. And who knows your person better, me or you? You do, right? Okay. Now, these are the 9 most common dementias. There's 128 identified dementias, 72 of them we refer to as children's Alzheimer's because they strike infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and children. Okay? Of the remaining dementias, these 9 are those dementias. These are 98% of all of the dementias. If you have your book, it's on page 3. And what you're going to do to help your physician and to help your family and to help yourself is you're going to remove the dementias they cannot possibly have. So we'll do my mother first. She's 84. She never played football a day in her life. Number 9 is football dementia, CTE. It's not wrestling dementia. It's not soccer dementia. It's football dementia. We can mark it off. She never played it. Okay? Huntington's is inherited. My mother would have been dead 50 years ago. I'd be dead. My brother would be dead. We'd all be dead. Huntington's is bad. We don't have it in my family. I can draw a line through that. If you had it in your family, you'd know it. Okay? So you can draw a line through it. Wernicke-Korsakoff is alcohol dementia. My mother never had a drink of alcohol in her life. So I feel I can mark that one off. And if you don't have Parkinson's disease, could you have the dementia? No. So she doesn't have Parkinson's disease. She can't have the dementia. I can draw a line through that. My mother's too old for FTD. That is a dementia of people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We have some people that have lived into their 70s because we're much better at research now. But my mother's much too old. She's out of that category. So I can draw a line through number 5. Lewy bodies has 4 distinctive hallucinations. They see children, bugs, spiders, rats, or snakes. They see bad people coming to get them, and they can describe what sounds like an army, a SWAT team, just strangers in their house bothering them, or family members that they believe are trying to kill them. The 4th hallucination is that the person who has Lewy bodies sees their spouse or their caregiver having sex out in public, usually in front of the local grocery store. So in Texas, it's always that wild sex parties in front of an H-E-B. In Florida, it's in front of a Publix. Okay? And we don't understand why it's always in front of a grocery store, but there seems to be a lot of sexual activity. Now imagine the stress that spouse is under when they're being accused of that all day long, because those Lewy body hallucinations last for hours, not for seconds. My mother doesn't have any of those, so I'm going to mark off Lewy body. But my mother has a heart condition. She has congestive heart failure. She's had 3 stents put in. She's had 2 heart surgeries. She's got a documented stroke. She has high blood pressure, high cholesterol. She has obesity, cellulitis. She is raised by a smoker and married a smoker. Does any of that stuff sound vascular? All of it sounds vascular. So I'm going to put an X next to number 3. And if my mother has a vascular dementia, because of how long it takes for a vascular dementia to begin to impair the brain where you can see it, there's a good chance that Alzheimer's has joined it as well. So for my mother, I go back to ask about 3, 2, and 1, a combination, a mixed dementia. Everybody with me? Do you understand what to do with your loved one? Let's do Daddy. Daddy's more fun. Daddy's 89. When he was a senior in high school in 1956 in Evant, Texas, he led, as quarterback, he led his 6-man football team to the state title. Y'all know 6-man football? Town is so small, they only field 6 boys. They play both offense and defense. It's mainly a lot of running, not a lot of tackling. Don't have extra guys for that. I'm still going to let the doctor know. Does my family have Huntington's? I can mark that out. You know, my mother has never had a drink. Why do you think that might be? Oh, Daddy drank for everybody. Yeah, we're a very giving people. Now, I don't mean your girlfriends came over and y'all had a glass of wine. And I don't mean you mowed the lawn and watched the football game and you had a beer. I'm talking a case of beer and a bottle of whiskey a day, and this went on for 30 years. Now, even though he's been sober 30 years, for 30 years he messed with his brain. So I'm going to make sure I let the doctor know and put an X by number 7. He doesn't have Parkinson's disease, so can't have that dementia. He's much too old for the FTDs. He doesn't have any of the hallucinations of Lewy bodies. But for every cold Lone Star beer Jim had in this hand, what was in this hand? Unfiltered Pall Mall cigarettes. The Mac Daddy of the cigarette. When they finally got him to understand, Jim, smoking is bad, he went, oh, cigars. After 20 years, they got him to understand, Jim, cigars, not good, bad for you. And he went, oh, chewing